Aubrey, one topic that I would love to address today is of retention in independent schools. From what I've heard from constituents, parents, other community members, is that sometimes they feel like they are taken for granted at their school. And the school crassly cares more about recruitment of new students than it does nurturing the relationships with current families. What are your thoughts? What have you heard? What points do you think need to be touched on in this area?
Oh, I love this topic, Lori. I'm really excited to dive into this one. So, I think that especially now, more than ever, retention is key to our schools. We all know it costs way more money to attract families, and you know that onboarding families is kind of a nightmare and it's a long process. So, really paying attention to the families that we do have and making sure that they want to stay and that we've done the work to help them stay is super important. And I would say marketing's job is integral to this process. I always say in my presentations, a decision to enroll is not a decision to stay at a school at all, like at all. And marketing can positively impact that through many different ways. I mean, there's educating parents about what are the different things that are happening at this school. Where are graduates going? What are the upper levels doing? Why should you stay? And that leads into value proposition. So, really taking the time to look strategically, which is a word we like to use a lot, right, Lori? Strategically at marketing and how we can do this in a way that has touch points in different places for parents during their journey at your school. Lori, what are your thoughts around that? And what do you think is important for schools to know about that?
Sure. A lot of this marketing can be done in a way that it's not creating extra work for the school marketing teams. We've already talked about how overstretched, overworked they are, understaffed, but how can they consistently reinforce the value of their school's education, of the family's investment in marketing? And that can be as simple as what are they putting in their tuition communications letters? When they are putting on a 4% increase, a 6% increase, a 7% increase, it's not just, dear family, due to rising costs, we are increasing tuition 6%. That doesn't land well. But if we're saying, thank you so much for your investment, people like to be thanked and appreciated. We want to continue to enhance the amazing education that our school is providing for your child. We want to make sure that teachers are paid fairly, that you have access to the best facilities and the best equipment and whatnot. Then sharing the increase and then saying, this is what we've accomplished in the past year and this is what we want to accomplish in the future can go a long way. And it might seem like such a simple communication, but it's actually can be very hard for schools. Also, when it comes to everyday marketing tactics like social media, like a parent email, what are these infusions of value that you can put in there that not just, we built a Rube Goldberg machine in seventh grade today. Isn't that cool? It's our seventh graders are building a Rube Goldberg machine because they're exploring all of these elements of STEM and they're doing A, B, C, D, and E, and this is how it folds into the education of the school. Do you need to belabor every social media post? No. But just reinforcing your value proposition can go a long way with retention. What
Oh,
else
I
have you
love
seen?
Yeah, absolutely. I love that example with social media. I'm always like, what are the benefits of this for parents? Why do they want their children to learn XYZ, right? Or the outcome is XYZ. And I love the idea of the tuition letter. They must have some sort of secret template that they're working off of, but it does not include some of the key components that you discussed, which is like the thanking and setting the vision. Setting the vision. Hey, here's where we're going. And then also, I would say, looking at parents as like this is a big thing for them, right? So understanding that how you're communicating that is super important. Are you making sure that you're talking about, hey, I understand. I know some schools that are in areas that are being heavily impacted by either unemployment pieces or uncertainty of the economy. Like saying that I understand, acknowledging what parents might be feeling, and then saying, okay, so this is how we're going to support you through this process. Here's where you can find out about our tuition assistance, or here's some ways that we're supporting you. And I also think continuing to have that open door policy, whether you're setting a meeting for parents to come talk to you or saying, hey, the door is open so that we can converse about this if this is something on your mind, is a really impactful things to include in those tuition letters. You know, they are big hits to parents. And I don't know if this is your experience, but when I talk to parents in independent schools, they're like shocked that tuition goes up every year. I don't know if that's not in the FAQs of admissions, but it probably should be. Like, tuition will go up every year because they sign on. I'm like, okay. And then by the end of their journey at a school, they're like, well, that was like a X amount increase that I didn't see coming. But yeah, such good examples, Lori.
Right. Yeah. I mean, what I also think is really important is families want to know what's coming out of the classroom as it relates to their specific child. Parent communications is huge. And this is a topic that there is no silver bullet for. There's no prescription. If you try and prescribe something to faculty, they're going to flat out laugh at you. But, it's really that partnership between marketing and the educational leadership and admission to say, families need to hear from you. They need to hear specifically about their child. They need to hear something positive before you write something home that's negative. So, what does the system work for each classroom, for each teacher, for each division? It's going to vary from lower school to middle school to high school, just given the number of students that middle and high school teachers are teaching. But even that, dear Aubrey, your child was amazing today. He was super helpful in the hallway when a teacher dropped a whole thing of papers. He was the first to stop, and he's such a good citizen and a wonderful member of the community. So that when you get that email 2 months later, that's, hey, Aubrey, your son was disruptive in the classroom today. Then you are like, you've already heard from the teacher that they recognize something that your child did, as opposed to just what your child does wrong.
I
I'm
love
sure
it.
your boys are angels, but
Here's the thing. And Lori, I love that you brought this up because here's the thing. Look, there will be negative experiences on the journey. You can do everything in your power as a school to try to minimize these things. I can even tell you how many times a school's number comes up on my phone and I'm like, in the middle of a meeting, I'm like, what now? Like, what is going down? It's either sickness, some disruptive thing happens. Those things are going to happen. Carpool's going to run late. Some teacher is going to be out sick and they're going to miss the whole unit on whatever, right? Like, this is just life in a school. So I love the idea of remembering that and remembering, I always say 5 positive experiences to offset 1 negative one. So as you were saying, like with building that into your communication structure that works for whatever teacher, whatever level, where you're adding into that bucket, like you're filling the bucket with positivity, knowing the negativity is on its way in some form, in some way, it really helps. And I think it's interesting. This is a position that I fill all the time with schools, is that strategic holistic marketing. This is marketing, right? It is the customer experience. It's the parent relationships. It's seeing the bigger picture and seeing where the things aren't working out and where the potential is for attrition and stuff like that, and how we can streamline things in a way that supports parents knowing about the school, seeing the value, and having a good experience. And you mentioned a child's experience. As we know, parents want more and more to know about their child's experience. It's not cutting it anymore just to know, oh, the class did this. What's my child doing? Are they adjusting socially, emotionally, and academically? So great points, Lori.
of course. And then what we can address another day is how do you really tame that parent communications beast where parents want to know what their child is doing every second of every day because that's not realistic. And if administrators and teachers are constantly responding to parent communications and what's coming in that inbound fashion, then what's happening in the classroom? So we can save that topic for another
Oh my
day.
gosh, that's a good one. Yeah, we're definitely going to have to dive into that at a later one. Well, thanks, Lori. This was awesome. Love talking about retention and all marketing related topics.